Hello and welcome back to SJ Cartier Limited Convos. And today I'm just going to do a follow-up on my last video, to be extremely honest, and ask the question: are we all judgmental? Are we all racist? Are we all prejudiced? Do we all have a judgment against people from when we first see them, even if that's the very first time we have ever laid our eyes on them, heard of them, seen them in our life? And my answer to that is yes. I asked the question, is Britain still racist? Yes, it is. And I'm going to ask that question to myself: is the rest of the world prejudiced and racist and judgmental? Yes, we are. And as I say with SJ Cartier Limited Convos, I'm not just talking about everybody and then I can't look at my downfalls, my up positives. If I can't look at my positives and negatives, then I shouldn't be here doing a channel for you listeners listening to me. So let's go into it. I'm judgmental. Yeah, I have a little bit of racism in me. I have a little bit of judgments in me, and I'm going to go into them and explain them. So the same way I says, when someone of a different culture, a different race, sees me as a black man, the way I'm dressed, with the urban look, the urban talk, Birmingham doesn't help as well when you're like this. Like, for instance, if I came from Kent or somewhere a bit more posher and I spoke a bit different, me as a black man would be judged different to the black man from Birmingham. So understanding that, yes, there's going to be ghettos everywhere, but then there's a lot of areas where, although you black, you grow with a different kind of mentality, a different kind of outlook to life, even outlook to life, and outlook on yourself, even, and how you look. So yeah, I'm gonna point out that I'm judgmental because if I see an Asian man, I have my presumptions about the Asian man. If I see a white man, I have my presumptions against a white man. If I see a Chinese man, I have presumptions against a Chinese man. These are my initial presumptions. Yeah? But, as I said in my last video to a comment, was we all have judgments, but it's for us not to show our judgments in a normal day-to-day life. It's for us to look at our judgments and then realise that is a first impression that we have got from nowhere, from publicity, from just what we think and believe. So for example, for me, I meet a white person and they're talking to me. Although I grew up in a very multicultural area, West Bromwich, where there's a lot of blacks, there's a lot of whites, there's a lot of Asian. It's not predominantly white, it's not predominantly Asian, it's not predominantly black. There's a multicultural variety of people around there, and we all get along. So for me, when I'm talking, you need to understand my situation and understand who I am as a person. I have a lot of friends from all ethnicities, but that doesn't take away from the fact that if I see a certain elderly white bloke and let's say I'm in the shop, even a white woman, I'm in the shop and I feel a little bit disrespect, my first judgment is going to be, oh, you're just judging me because I'm black. And that's my presumption of this white person here. This white person may just be poor at customer service. This white person may just have had a bad day today. They may not actually be caring about my colour of my skin and just dealing with me as a customer incorrectly. But my first initial thought plan sometimes is it's obviously due to the colour of my skin. And on a lot of occasions, I may be actually correct. So even for some, if you're a white person and you see a load of black people standing up on the street, the initial presumption is they are selling drugs, they are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. That's the initial presumption. And as I say, on some occasions you may be right, but on some occasions you may be actually wrong, and these lads have just come from university. These lads have just met up because they all have work and they all have break at the same time. These lads have met up because they're going to a party. We don't know. These lads have met up because this is where the taxi's picking them up. So we all have our judgments, but we can't allow them to interfere with our life. So although I understand that, okay, then in business, I realise that a lot of white businesses do get supported a lot sooner than black businesses, and they are trusted more in the initial instinct, and that is not just by white customers, that's not just by black customers, that's by all customers. Like, it's like initial thought, if you hear an Asian person phoning your phone, it's like they're trying to scam us. That's my initial thought. Not all the time are these Asian people trying to scam us. Some of these Asian people actually work for companies that you have actually requested help from. So you never know if your first judgment could actually be the wrong judgment, and you could be cutting something out. So even for me, as I say, like as a business, I realise, yes, sometimes it's a competitive lifestyle with a business, because you're going to have people competing with prices, you're going to have people competing with products, you're going to have people trying to be friends with every single person to allow their business to grow. For me, I'm not trying to be friends with everyone, although I'm very friendly. So for me, those judgments sometimes on my business, on whether I can fulfill the service that I'm saying I'm doing, it seems like people sometimes second guess that. But why do they second guess that? Yes, I understand sometimes it's the brand, and they understand, oh, you know what, we might not know this brand, this might be the first time we've heard of him, we haven't heard him in the community, we haven't actually seen him. Another reason why I do the SJ Cartier limited combos, because you can actually see me, hear me, yeah? So as I say, yeah, people will judge and second guess, and that's even, as I say, that's not just white customers to white businesses. I'm actually talking about us as black people as well. Like, as a black person, you walk into another black man's shop, you're gonna try and get a deal, or you're gonna like second guess the authenticity of this person. And that's all of us. And this is where I say, like, we're all judgmental, we all have some kind of racism, but it's all about us recognizing it in ourselves first of all. I say this to my partner as well a lot, this saying, an alcoholic cannot stop becoming an alcoholic until they admit they are an alcoholic. So the same way with judging people, if we can't admit to ourselves that we are racist, we will never be able to change our ways. If we can't admit that we have a little bit of sexism in us, so we may presume that the male is harder than the woman, we may presume the man is stronger than the woman, we may presume the woman is more beautiful than a man, we may presume a woman can go through childbirth and a man can't, we may presume men drive better, we may presume women are the best hairdressers. There's a lot of presumptions about sexes, about ethnicities, about even where we're from. So I'm born in England, me, but my ethnicity and my background is thoroughly Caribbean Jamaican. Yeah? So I nearly lost my trailer for there. Sorry about this. As I said, I don't like to cut my videos, so when I do lose my trailer thought due to little distractions, I apologise. And this is what I tried to say on my last video as well. Sometimes, because I'm not used to actually speaking to myself, I'm getting used to speaking to myself and holding the conversations that I hold with my partner or with people face to face over the phone. And these conversations sometimes, as I say, need to be heard. So as I say, we're all judgmental. We all are. But as I was trying to get at, yeah, that was it. If we can't admit and see it, we can't change. We can't change. As a human nature, as people, because even like, as I say, I'm going to give you some of my judgments that I've seen. Some people may think black people can't work. Black people are actually hard grafters, because when we get a job, we actually have to work harder because we are black. So we actually are hard grafters when we are in a job, because we have to be. If we don't keep up to the level, we may be looked at and discriminated against. As a Muslim man, we may be judged. Like, I grew up in the time where there was a lot of jihadis. So in the time where I was Muslim and not long become Muslim, there was a lot of people from the UK as well going abroad to blow themselves up and call themselves jihadis. So I was questioned by friends, family, randomers, people that possibly had known that I was Muslim in the street. I'm getting judged because they may presume and asking me, are you going over there as well with them? You better not. What are you on about? For one, I understand what jihad is, where you go through struggle and strife in your local community. That doesn't mean every Muslim is planning to go fly across and kill themselves in the name of Allah. Because we ain't supposed to harm ourselves, a human being, an insect, any flowers, plants. We're not supposed to harm anything. We're supposed to respect the land and people that is around us. And not judge. Not judge. So as I'm saying, like, are we all going to recognise that we're all judgmental? Because in me, I can see where I'm judgmental. I judge certain white people when they're talking to me because I think sometimes, even though I may be correct, they talk to me like I'm stupid, like I'm just a young black kid who they feel like is their pocket to success because I have money, I am a business. If I promote something and they can undersell me and say, oh, I've got it, they're using. Yeah? I have judgments against certain white businesses due to that. Especially ones that are in the same field as me that completely try to avoid me. So yeah, I have judgments against a lot of fairy tale white businesses. I have judgments against certain black businesses because they also avoid each other. Yeah? I have judgments against certain Asian Muslims because, just certain Asian men, because I realise the ones that are Muslim may not recognise you are Muslim, and even the ones that do know you're Muslim will judge you as being a black Muslim compared to a Pakistani, a Moroccan, an Egyptian, a Saudi Arabian. So I have like little judgments that a lot of the times some brothers that are Muslim may judge me for who I am. So that's my judgment against them. You see how it works? See how it works? Because we presume someone has a judgment, we then start making our judgment and acting out our judgment due to our initial judgments. Can we all see it? Because it's a problem with society. I saw a man comment in my last video talk about there's racism in Africa. Yes, I know this because there's racism between Africans and Jamaicans. Africans don't want to be called Jamaicans and Jamaicans don't want to be called African. Why? Why? Because we have our own presumptions that, as a Jamaican, we don't want to be called African because have you seen over Africa? And when you talk to an African being called Jamaica, I don't want to be called Jamaican because we are originals. Judgments. And that's, I'm showing you how it's judgments of cultures, judgments of sexes, judges of religion, judges of how people dress and look. And we all have them. We all may presume someone in a suit is a businessman or has a good job. Sometimes that suit may be rented. And not paid rented by their friend or brother or dad or rented. And they've got a suit on and you think they are. That's a presumption you made just due to the way they were dressed. And I said this before, I done business studies and I've got my qualification. So I understand, even when I was growing up, how they expected us to be to show yourself as a business, because we are our own brand when you are a business. And one of the things that was pointed out is, as a businessman, if you don't dress well, you may not be accepted in the business world. And sometimes that dressing well needs to be a suit. This is things that were taught to me. talk to me. Studies. So again, it shows us that even in that, we all live off perception. Because even in business, you're taught in business, give a good perception. Like to say you are looking like the person, the business. And people will just believe you. If you look like the person. So it's not to say everybody in a suit. But it's to say it helps a lot, because that person that you may think, oh yeah, he just looks scruffy in his suit, imagine him not in a suit. How would you judge him then? Yeah. So judgments are around us everywhere, every day, in us daily. But we can't let that interfere with how we deal with people. So as I pointed out, yes, I may presume certain businesses just don't want this black business to succeed, but that's not going to stop me from going to this business, that business, that may be white, that may be black, that may be Asian, may be in this country, abroad. It's not going to stop me. Because if I can't support you, I can't support you. That's safe, and I don't actually mind. There's 1,000,001 resources for everything. Sometimes it's about funds, as we say, but there's 1,000,001 sources for everything. So even with the judgments, as I say in one of my videos about how people were judging all Muslims and saying all Muslims, first of all Muslims aren't from this country presumptionally. Hello, I'm Muslim and I'm born here, I'm English. Yeah? So there's a presumption that all Muslims gotta go back to their country, whatever country that may be. And that presumption is due to they think all Muslims are like the fraud ones that were in Rochdale and bloody Telford. No. In fact, if you ask a Muslim, you'll say they aren't Muslim, because Muslims don't do those things. And that judgment goes on to them, because it's like they presume all Muslims are like that, and that could interfere with their day-to-day life. But then one question I'm going to ask them, which I found quite funny as well, a lot of these people chanting, get all the Muslims out, get all the Muslims out, they're all rapists, they're all this, they're all that. Hello? Where do you shop? What food do you eat? Who picks you up in a taxi? If these people are so irritant to you, why do you support them? It's quite funny. Because you need them. And you realise you can't allow your judgment to affect your day-to-day life. And I think that's where I may end this video, because that is the moral of this video. Your judgments should not affect your day-to-day living, and we should be aware of them to be able to not let them affect our day-to-day living. And if we can do that individually, then as a collective there'll be less judgments everywhere. Everybody would get to know somebody and really get to know the person before they're able to judge that person. Yeah? So yeah, thank you for joining us, J Cartier Limited Convos today. And I hope you like this quick one.